this team has given us just incredible memories right now. And the crazy thing is they got a shot to keep going.
Yes, they do.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
they got a shot to keep going. And
I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago, but the
incredible.
49ers, granted Debo got injured, but
it's incredible.
They look, I wouldn't say beatable, they look vulnerable.
It got to a point Saturday night watching that game that I did not know who to cheer for in the Green Bay San Francisco game. I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my wife and I'm like, we want a home game, right? But I don't know. But San Fran doesn't. They kind of look. Brock Purdy doesn't look very good. And in Green Bay, I mean, I started having flashbacks of Green Bay from when we won the Super Bowl there. A young team going on the road, not a care in the world, no pressure, no stress. Hey, we're not supposed to be here, right? And I'm thinking of this, and I'm like, I legitimately did not know who I wanted to root for in the San Francisco game.
That's the emotions in the moment. But the reality is you take the home game. It's very much like the home game.
Yeah.
Remember this debate in the regular season? I'd rather have the 2 seed than the 1 seed. No, I can see the argument, but you want the 1 seed.
I'm with you, but I'm telling you, I'm not kidding, probably 80% of that game, I genuinely could not figure out who I want to, because then you're watching San Fran and you're like, man, like Stoney said, and look, I know their players, their starters hadn't played in 3 weeks, right? They had to bye. They sat them in the last week of the season. So maybe did they underperform? Probably a little bit. They were probably a little bit rusty, but it was just, I found myself in a weird spot there. And ultimately, I talked myself into, okay, calm down. Don't be stupid. We want another home game. We got to root for Green Bay, right?
Vegas is wrong sometimes, but they're a 6.5 point dog out there, and they would be favored here. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
But the percentages alone right there tell you.
No, they'd be favored against Green Bay.
Well,
I don't know if they'd be favored against San Francisco.
No,
against Green Bay.
Right.
They're 6.5 point dog.
I know.
Yeah, so the option wasn't to play San Francisco.
I was legitimately lost, though.
Let me ask you this, because you just mentioned something. Your Super Bowl run. You guys were young, not a care in the world, and you just nothing to lose. You went out there and you got to win. How comparable is this Lions team? And we'll talk about yesterday's game more in just a minute, but how comparable is this Lions team to your team that won the Super Bowl?
There are definitely some comparisons, and I'm not saying, hey, they're going to win because I see some, some comparisons here. But you talk about getting in the playoffs and just having a chance, and anything can happen, And I remember that kind of run that we had on my specific team. Our defense found ways to make a couple game-changing plays every single game, right? I think actually in Green Bay we had a defensive touchdown, I want to say almost every game, if not every game. I know the Lions defense hasn't done that, but they've found ways every single game to create a turnover, to create a huge stop, right, when you need it. There's similarities there. The quarterback, right, playing at a high level. Jared Goff, I know, probably started a little bit sluggish yesterday, but the rhythm that he was able to get into and take care of the football, probably got away with one early that Jamel Dean probably should have had. But they didn't make the play, so it doesn't count. So, there's definitely some comparisons. And guys just – I think it's more of a mindset, right? Like, you never really know when you get into the playoffs if you belong, if you're supposed to be there, if you haven't done it before. You know what I mean? And then you go and you beat the Rams, and it's like, man, okay, how are we going to find a way to get the next one, right? This was such a high emotional win for us. How do we find a way to get the next one? Then you go out yesterday and you score 31 points on Tampa. You beat them. You seal the game with an interception. I think that's when you truly start to remove any doubt that you have in your mind as a player that you can do this. And I think they're there. I think they're there. And even last night, I'm kind of getting a pulse of the locker room and talking to a couple of players, and still it felt like, this was just the next one. It wasn't some crazy celebration. No. Hey, we're good. Whatever happens next week, we're good. We're happy with where we're at.
No, the players aren't taking this gravy from here. No, they see that they win one football game, they're in the Super Bowl, and then who the hell knows?
And I think it's a genuine, we don't care about the other team feel that they have.
Right.
I think they know that as long as they keep playing their style of football, taking care of the ball on offense and just finding ways to grind teams away, and defense, hey, we're going to let up some big plays, but get a couple takeaways in there, get a couple sacks, get a couple big hits, right? Get a couple big third down stops. That's what's going to win you games. And they've stayed true to their identity now for at least the last 4 games. And it's just, man, they got a shot. You know what I mean? They're a Final Four team. They got a shot.
Yeah.
They got a shot to do something really special. They know that. And I just, it's insane. I even asked Coach a question yesterday, and maybe it was inappropriate but at the time, but I just said, Coach, do you ever sit back and just think about how far you've come in the last 3 years? You know what I mean? That's probably a better question for the offseason. You know, when I have time to.
No, that's completely appropriate.
And even he kind of was like, I think about it all the time. You know, I don't want to focus on that because then it's going to distract me from, you know, what we've got to do this week. But it's incredible. I mean, from where this team was 3 years ago, and from the top to the bottom, from the last guy on the roster all the way to the top was Sheila Hemp, right? Coming out last year and giving Coach the vote of confidence and saying, Coach, you're our guy. We're going to be patient. We're going to give you a chance to turn this thing around. Because I think it's really easy when things go bad for everybody to panic and want the immediate results and, we got to make changes. And then Coach is starting to get out of his character and his identity of what he's supposed to do. So just from the top to the bottom over the last 3 years, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. There's not enough words to describe this turnaround that they've had. And the great part is they got a chance to.
Yes, they do.
They're going to work today.
Damn right.
There's 28 teams that are sitting at home. This team's going to work.
248-539-9797. Jonah Jackson probably will not be playing it. They made it apparent, at least Dan did. Him and Brock Wright probably will miss the game.
Yeah, I don't think he had a specific update, but he said,
it doesn't look
probably
good. How do you think you guys both play the offensive line? Awashika, I mean, I saw some PFF stats or some other stuff that weren't very good, but I thought he handled himself okay. Didn't you or no?
He did what he had to do.
Yeah, I thought he battled.
And I thought, when you look at Graham, I thought Graham struggled in the first half, played better in the second. But again, when you're going up against that defensive line and that front where you don't necessarily know where they're coming, and Todd Bowles is really good at disguising some things, bringing blitzes. I thought they'd bring more than they did, but it's that indecision sometimes that makes young players or inexperienced players second guess themselves, and it's really hard to play when you're guessing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question: who has a better line right now? Considering the health of the Lions, the Detroit Lions offensive line or the Green Bay Packers offensive line?
The Lions.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers rushed for 136 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. The Lions can do that.
You feel like you're gonna have to run the ball against that defense.
Absolutely.
You don't want to throw the ball 45, 50 times against that San Fran defense.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be probably key number one when they show up to work and whenever they do start game planning for San Fran is take care of the football, and we got to control the clock. We got to run the ball.
You guys think any stars are aligning here? Just in turn, I don't believe in this stuff, but it is very eerie. You know, the very first game Campbell coached was against the Niners. The last time the Lions won a road playoff game was in San Francisco. One of their great playoff horrors has happened in San Francisco when Monty Clark prayed and Eddie Murray, Mr. Reliable, missed a kick. You know, the possibility of a opponent you played earlier in the year, but I think especially Kansas City bookending the year. You know,
they played Baltimore too.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like every single demon that they've had is like coming right at them.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't mean that they have to win Sunday. It's like to me. I don't know if they're going to win yet. I don't know if I want to make a pick yet, but man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said it last week. I mean, it's kind of poetic, and that's a big word for me.
Is that three syllables?
I think so, yeah.
Spell it.
John, I don't have time. Like things that you just mentioned, right? And starting last week with going through Matthew Stafford and, Jared Goff going through Sean McVay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you got to go through some of your past demons a little bit to get to where you want to be. So that's probably more of a storyline for us. I don't think the players get
exactly.
But
if you believe in the curse like I do, then the best way to get rid of the curse is anti-curse karma. 97.1 The Ticket.
Hey.